Hi gamers, I'm Nathan, and I'd like to share my opinions on what classic games I want to see remade, remastered, or returned for new consoles. Mostly video games for PlayStation because I'm a PlayStation person myself. Some games I'd like to see make a return by having the original version made for new consoles, or remade and remastered into new graphics like they did for Crash, Spyro, and more of my other favorite games. With all those popular classic video game remakes, I thought I'd share the ones I'm mostly interested in. So here we go. I love the Pac-Man World game series. They're fun, beautiful, and have excellent gameplay. Since they already made Pac-Man World Repack, I'd love to see Namco do the same for Pac-Man Worlds 2 and 3. But if they don't want to remake them, they can just be classic original versions for new consoles. Pac-Man World 2 was my first PlayStation 2 game I ever got to play, and those sequels had so much fun gameplay and stories in them. Tony Hawk's Underground games are what I like best about Tony Hawk games, where you get off your board and run around places you can't even get to skate on. They even tell such interesting stories featuring your created character in them. I loved how those games where you get to create your own ways of the games. Like, you get to create your own character, board, levels, goals, graffiti tags, and so much more. Those games were so radical. If Activision can remake the first two Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, they should do the same for the Underground games. I love the Little Big Planet games. Little Big Planet was my first PlayStation 3 game I ever got to play, and enjoyed some fun ways to do creative stuff in the series, like create a lot of characters and levels and everything. I also miss the old days where I first got to socialize with other online gamers and play other people's levels they shared in the community. Since Little Big Planet was such a successful online game for everyone to enjoy, they should bring all three of the games back so fans can play the story levels again and keep expanding their community with more stuff to get creative with. Mod Nation Racers is another fun creative game similar to Little Big Planet, only this one is about racing, and you get to create a lot of interesting characters, race carts, and racetracks. This game is another one of my best favorites, and I used to play it every day after school. If that game was super fun and special for online gameplay, they should bring this game back so people can race others online again. Since they have already released the first Sly Cooper game for PlayStation 5, I don't see why they shouldn't do the same for those other two Sly games. They were both even way better than the first because it had so much more amazing gameplay and characters to play as. I really enjoyed the Sly Cooper games, and I hope they bring back those other two games someday. It sure would be fun to play them again. Same thing with Ratchet and Clank. Only I'm more into the original trilogy of the first three games. I played the first one on the PlayStation 2 before, but I never got to play the other two until I had the HD versions on the PS3. If Ratchet and Clank was so popular as Sly and Jack, PlayStation should do the same for those classics too, and hopefully no PlayStation Plus has to be required to play those games. Sonic Adventure is my best favorite Sonic the Hedgehog game of all time. I love the gameplay, stories, levels, and characters you get to play as. I love how each of those fun playable characters have their own unique version of the story. It sure would be nice to see this game be remastered with better graphics, and have some extras and better ways to play the game. It sure would be fun. I never played Medieval 2 before. Well, I remember playing it as a demo on the first PlayStation when I was a kid. If they can remaster the first Medieval and bring the original version back, I don't see why they shouldn't with the sequel. I sure would like to play it someday. Since Toy Story 2 has been returned for PlayStations 4 and 5, why not A Bug's Life as well? I had a little fun with that game, but it was pretty tricky because you don't have much health and collecting extra lives is a hard thing to do. But since the PlayStation Classics now have a rewind feature and save anytime feature, it sure would make this classic game easy for nostalgic gamers. That would be cool and convenient if anyone wants to play A Bug's Life again. The Wrath of Cortex is one of my best favorite Crash Bandicoot games from my childhood. I sure would love to play that game again, either as the original version or maybe a remastered version like the Insane Trilogy. It was much more fun and beautiful when the PlayStation 2 got released, and I remembered enjoying it on my mom's Xbox when I was young. This game would be a perfect return for classic Xbox gamers, and the original version can be brought back for PlayStation 2. Another one of my favorite Crash games of all time is Crash Tag Team Racing. For those of you who have never played this game or seen it in a while, a quick reminder here. It had more than just racing. It also had adventure platforming, mini-games, combining into other karts, and watching some funny animated clips you may find in the game. This was one of the best games I ever played in my childhood, and I'd love to see a remake or remastered original version for new consoles to play on. The Simpsons Hit and Run was pretty fun too. It's like Grand Theft Auto, only it's fun for younger audiences to play, where you get in and out of a vehicle, do missions, unlock stuff, and see some funny clips and gags. I sure would love to see an official return for this game, even if someone already remade it and hasn't released it to the public yet. I love Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. I already played the first and second games on my PlayStation 4. Now I would like to see the third one return for PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch too. This game may be different, but it's part of a series I enjoyed playing a lot. The Rayman games were okay, but they were pretty hard back then. Hopefully when they return, those games would be a lot easier to play with than before. A remastered trilogy of Rayman is what I'd like to see happen someday. I used to play Bugs Bunny Lost in Time a lot on the first PlayStation when I was a kid. If they remake it, I want to see more beloved Looney Tune characters like Porky Pig, Wile E. Coyote, Sylvester, Tweety, and so much more. And maybe the animations will be a lot funnier, and the graphics would look more cartoony too. It's not a popular game, but I sure would love to see a new Looney Tunes game someday. I enjoyed playing Portal Runner on the PlayStation 2. It is pretty cool, fun, and interesting, where you play as a cool girl named Vicky and team up with a lion named Leo. The game is where you can explore interesting worlds in a magic toy store, collect gems, shoot powerful arrows, and have Leo attack enemies. It is also a sequel to those difficult Army Men games where they're about little plastic green soldiers battling in giant worlds. I liked this game, and I wish I could play it again, but I sold my PlayStation 2 because I wanted to get the 5. Pandemonium is pretty cool and interesting too, where you play as an enchantress named Nikki and a jester named Fargus. The graphics may have looked terrible back then, but the gameplay was pretty fun and kinda tricky and skillful. It sure would be better to see those two games remastered or brought back to PlayStation for playing classics again. Kaya was pretty good too. I was enjoying it at first, but I never beaten the game because it stopped at a loading time that took too long. The game is not terrible. The game disc I bought was just old and couldn't work. But what if they bring this game back to the PlayStation 5 as a download so people can play it again? It was made only for the PlayStation 2 after all, so why can't all games made only for PS2 come back on the 5 as downloads? That would be cool. Disney Infinity is another one of my best favorite video games of all time. Since it has been a big success for Disney fans to enjoy, Disney should bring that back too. Maybe a newer and better one, like a 4.0 maybe. Or they can just have the original playset stories you can play again from the old versions. I never played the playsets from 1.0 and 2.0, but 3.0 had a lot more than I expected. If that game ever comes back, I would like to create a Disney account just to play other people's created levels, like I did on Little Big Planet. It would be fun. Free Realms was such a beautiful online game. Just looking back at it brings back gaming memories I made while playing this online community game. It was like my second home away from home, but I'll tell you about my first one later. Free Realms had everything. You get to do whatever you want, be whatever you want, and have loads of fun. Play minigames, battle enemies, play sports, and brew potions. It was such an awesome game, but the best game I ever played was my first home away from home, which was PlayStation Home. Yeah, PlayStation Home was another fun online game I got to socialize and make friends in. I loved redecorating my personal spaces, creating avatars, playing minigames, exploring places, and taking pictures. PlayStation Home was awesome. If that online game was so popular for PlayStation fans all over the globe, I suggest they should bring that back so people can socialize with each other and share their decorated spaces again. That would be amazingly awesome. And that's pretty much all the games I want to see return so far. Am I missing some games? What classic fun game would you like to see make a return someday? Let me know in the comments and share what your thoughts are on classic games returning.